Hello, everyone. Welcome to today. Today, we're on our very last day. This is very exciting. We've gone through 7 days of chakra food, and today we're going through the rainbow. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about, we made some quinoa yesterday on our white day. And we made some white potatoes. But I also cooked a little bit of squash when I did my white potatoes, because we did a squash day also. So I got a little bit of white potato from my garden. I got a little bit of red potato from my garden and some beautiful squash. Now, if you have organic squash, organic potatoes, please don't peel the skin. That's where you're going to get a lot of nutrients. Even the skin of the squash, if it's not too hard, I use it. I don't use my spaghetti squash skin. Okay. I want to start out by having just a little visual meditation on the beautiful sacred geometry in food. So I'm going to just take a little peek here at this cabbage. Look at this. It's beautiful cabbage. Just going to spin it and let's just look at what we see. Sometimes if we just squint our eyes slightly, we see something different, like squinting at a fire and getting our red light therapy. Or very early in the morning at a sun to get solar power. There's the whole universe in this cabbage. Why wouldn't we want to eat rainbow food and all its sacred shape and geometry? Look at the shape of a tomato, the glycerine. You know, when they do photography, Kirlian photography on raw food versus cooked food has a much wider auric field on the raw food. Let's look at a lime. Isn't that beautiful? All the shapes and water infused. Vegetables and fruit are almost 100% water, and they're structured water, meaning the body knows exactly what to do with it. The orange. You see the droplets of the ocean in the orange, and the sea, and the aquifers. Let's look at an onion. And the circles of infinity, like the tree. Growing larger and larger and larger. Each layer offering a different story of what was going on with the rain and the, look at the end of my celery stalk. This looks like a flower. Let's just breathe into the power. Breathe into the power of color food. Yeah. Look at the bunches. Got a little bit of color. Look at the bunches of our cauliflower and how sacred they grow together like a tree. So today, on the rainbow day, on our final party, we're going to dress up this quinoa, even though it's beautiful just like this. A lot of people don't use any added oils at all to their food. But I do add a little bit. If I'm eating my quinoa hot, I'll add just a tiny bit of coconut oil and I'll spice it and herb it up. Herbs are so full of nutrients. And if you can't get fresh ones, we have some beautiful fresh ones here. If we can't get fresh ones, then we can use dry ones. That's no problem. So look at this. Today at my live food class I'm going to be doing in person, I have some beautiful peppermint. And some cilantro. Cilantro removes heavy metals. It's such a beautiful food. I think I use the word beautiful too often. I think I better get some more synonyms and some parsley. Yeah. So green is such an amazing color. I have to tell you, I do rely on my food processor, and I mostly only ever use my Esplade. And I'll tell you why. If I have somebody coming for dinner and I want to make some salads and raw tacos and dessert, I can have that all done in 20 minutes with my food processor. And literally, I only use the Esplade. So you can get really inexpensive food processors. It's not a huge investment, but if you are thinking about changing your life and really doing a lot of this food for January, and we're going to continue on right till the end of January, you and Rainbow Food, Rainbow People, then please consider getting a food processor. Not necessary, but it is a bonus, especially if you have a larger family or a group of people that you're preparing food for. And I'm going to show you how quickly this is. So this just took me literally a minute, less than a minute, to put in my food processor, give it a quick wash. I have some parsley in here. I have some rainbow carrots. I found rainbow carrots yesterday at the store. Yeah. There's a new grocery store that opened up that has such beautiful produce. So on Rainbow Day, we got some beautiful rainbow carrots. So we have some of our rainbow carrots, some purple cabbage in here. We're going to put this into our white quinoa, and we're going to just see how much more beautiful that looks. Much more alive and colorful. Beautiful. There's a reason why children always want to talk and sing about rainbows and draw rainbows. And for some reason, the rainbow, the color spectrum of the rainbow gives us possibilities, helps us remember who we are, I believe. Now, most people in some of the groups that I'm part of, but not the way that I was trained in raw food nutrition, do not use vinegars, and they do not use any oils. If I can get a hold of a really, really fresh cold pressed oil that hasn't gone rancid, one of the main reasons oils are so bad for us is because they're overused. We're using really, really poor quality oils like canola. That's really common in Canada. So if you're not in Canada, you might not, even though it's exported a lot, it's always genetically modified. Or sunflower oils that have been modified to some degree, and the majority of them are rancid. A couple oils that go rancid very, very quickly are hemp oils and flaxseed oils. So you don't want to pre-grind a bunch of flaxseed because they do lose their nutrients really, really quick and they go rancid. But I have a little bit of cold pressed hemp oil in here, mixed with about a third of apple cider vinegar, lots of Italian seasoning because it's winter and Italian seasoning is amazing. Every bit of it helps. Antibacterial, antiviral. So I have some Italian seasoning in here, and I do use a tiny bit of Himalayan salt. I know some people don't, but you don't need that. And I'm only going to pour in about a tablespoon in here. And I'm going to give it a nice little stir. I think I have some pomegranates in the fridge on the top shelf. There they are. And here we are. Look at how beautiful this is. And I have my salad all done because I had my salad dressing in the fridge already pre-made. I quickly chopped up a little bit of vegetables in my food processor, but if you don't have that, you can quickly chop by hand. And I always keep a couple staples in the fridge, like a cabbage salad and some type of grain, or even though quinoa is considered a non-grain, it's considered a seed. And it kind of digests that way. It's very, very high in protein. And because I have a whole bunch of pomegranates clean, my daughter was here demonstrating some food with me yesterday, and she cleaned 2 pomegranates for me. Great little raw food chef she's going to become. So right here, even though we have cooked quinoa, the majority of your salad is still going to be raw and really have that life springing out in it. I say to people in the winter, if you want to not get that winter blues that people get, eat from the rainbow and eat food that tastes like you've just gotten it from the earth, that sprig of celery or fresh mint or the popping. When my granddaughter was breaking open the pomegranate, she says, I love that sound. And it's the popping of a fresh piece of fruit opening up. Here's our quinoa salad. Isn't that super rainbowy beautiful? Yeah, whatever vegetables you have in your fridge, you can cut that up, add it to your quinoa. You can just use a little bit of fresh lemon and herbs if you want, if you don't want to add any apple cider vinegar or oil. But it really looks inviting. I can also add, I have these really, really nice hemp hearts. And very unprocessed from local farmers, because I'm in Canada where a lot of hemp is grown. Hemp is actually a pure food. Babies, if they, for some reason, if the mother can't nurse, and they should never go on to cow's milk. No, it's not made for babies. They can actually go on to hemp milk quite easily and get most of their nutrient needs met with a little bit of supplement of D. So I'm going to put some really beautiful unprocessed hemp hearts on here. Yeah, lots of protein. So, you know, when us vegans are asked where we get our protein from, it's a really redundant question, but pretty well from everything we eat when we're eating a whole food plant-based diet. So here we go. Yeah, that's one dish. Okay, now we're going to make with these couple potatoes we have and squash. We're going to cut these up into some smaller pieces, and we're going to add that to a beautiful potato salad. So I have a bowl here, and I'm going to add the rest of the vegetables from my food processor. And I already have that dressing made, but I'm going to give you a couple alternatives for that dressing. So one of the things that we can do is we can just squeeze some fresh lemon on here. And there's some seeds in this lemon because it's not genetically modified. You don't want to eat food that doesn't have seeds. You know, I've heard many people say, oh, it's got seeds. That watermelon has seeds. All watermelon had seeds when I was a child. We want to be incredibly concerned about food that doesn't have seeds. So I'm going to squeeze some fresh lemon on here instead of the apple cider vinegar. And you know, the potatoes are going to make it super creamy. So we don't need to add any extra oils. Yeah, we can just add the oils of nuts and seeds if we like. Or after it's all done, we can cut up an avocado. But an avocado and potatoes doesn't really meld really well for me. It might for some people. Look at that. Beautiful. I'm going to add a pinch of Himalayan salt because I use a little bit of salt in my food in the evening. I don't use salt all day. No. As you have seen some of our demos, we make an infused water, then we make a smoothie, then often in the evening, it's very dry here. That little bit of salt is actually very, very good for me. And I have a little bit of hemp hearts. I think I'll add a little bit of hemp hearts, but you can add whatever you like. You can add a few cashews or almonds, whatever you want with your potato salad. That looks like perfect right there, that one bowl. I have some trusty helpers here today. Look at this. So we have some fine cut squash and potato. And you know what I do is I actually take a great big roast pan and I roast what I'm going to need for 5 or 6 days. Because when I say I like to be slightly prepared, I have a bit of quinoa cooked all the time that I can make a salad, or I can heat it up and make a stir fry. I also have a squash cooked usually. So when I roast in my oven, I'll roast about 5 or 6 potatoes, a couple squash, and then I'll be ready anytime to make whatever my body's craving that day. So here's a bit of potato and a little bit of squash. I'm going to add that to our rainbow salad. Wouldn't that look beautiful? Give it a little stir. Been given some wooden spoons lately. If you haven't eaten with wooden spoons and you only use metal to eat with, I really suggest you give that a try. And you know what I really love in this salad? I love topping it up with pomegranates after. So we got a nice rainbow colors happening here. Is I really enjoy adding a little bit of my cashew vegan cheese to it. And I have been teaching online a lot lately for about the last 3 weeks. And I have kind of perfected this cheese so we can make a nice cheesy potato salad. I think that's going to be the last thing I'm going to demo today. I made some right here yesterday. And I added a little bit of turmeric in to make it orange. So I could spread that on some celery sticks as a way of a nice snack, you know, for myself, for when my grandkids come over. I used to eat Cheese Whiz as a child, and I don't eat plastic anymore, so I don't eat Cheese Whiz. So I make my own cheese. There we go. That look lovely. Let's serve that as an appetizer with your veggies or your fruit plate. Let's just make that really quickly. I have some soaked almonds and cashews, but you can use any nut or seed you like. So you're going to use 1 cup of a soaked nut or seed. And it's best if you soak it overnight, but if you don't have time, even for 2 or 3 hours with the softer ones, almonds usually need to be soaked overnight. And at the end of this time, you're going to get a beautiful recipe book that I did a few years ago that has a really nice sprouting chart. So I'm just going to rinse these, drain the water, and then we're going to add 1 whole lemon. Is there a lemon in the fridge? 1 whole lemon, perfect. And my blender. So I'm going to peel most of this lemon. This is a beautiful Myers lemon. Oh, you know, if you're ever traveling and you need a pick-me-up and you have some oranges with you or lemons, you can peel them and take some of the peel. Most of the nutrients are in the white. So if it's organic, please, on most of your recipes, use at least a little bit of the peel. And if you're trimming the peel off, keep some of the white. That's where a lot of your phytonutrients are. So this, in order to have your instant cheese taste kind of like cheese, it's kind of has a little bit of a tangy flavor. That tangy flavor usually happens as you culture it. And I am culturing some cheese right now that is going to be ready for my food class today. But I'm going to use a lemon instead. So I'm actually using a whole Myers lemon in my cheese. That's going to be available for part of the juice. I'm adding a whole cup of, it's a combination of soaked almonds and soaked cashews. So that's going to go in here. And I'm going to add a pinch of Himalayan salt. And in that cupboard up there, there's some nutritional yeast in a little jar. And I'm going to add 2 heaping tablespoons of nutritional yeast when I find it. And I'm going to add just a 1/4 cup of water, just a little bit tiny. It's in a tiny, tiny little jar. I might have it with me. Let me check. I might have brought it over here. Nope. So nutritional yeast is an option. And I'm trying to see if I can find mine. Oh, here it is. Sorry to send you on a goose chase. Here's my nutritional yeast. It's really, really high in B vitamins. I sent my helpers on a goose chase and I finally found my nutritional yeast. Because if anybody's ever done any prep work with me in the kitchen, they'll say, I am a lot of work to clean up after. So here's my waters. I just want to show you my waters. I write messages on my waters. Like love and rest and wise. Yeah, with my granddaughter's help. And I've played both of these waters. I played them 5 to 8 hertz music today for about 1 hour to electrify them. Here's my blender back here. Whenever we do a demonstration, we call it the blender dance. So I'm going to do a blender dance, and then we're going to look at how beautiful this vegan cheese is. That's it. 1 cup of soaked cedar nut, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, a whole lemon, a 1/4 cup of water, and a pinch of salt. Here we go. It takes a little bit longer to make cheese because you like it to be nice and creamy. Oh, it smells delicious. And I can ferment this overnight. I use something called EM, stands for effective microorganisms. It's a liquid, but you can also take a really good probiotic that you might have, open up the capsule and just drop the powder in and stir it in and leave it on your counter overnight, maybe covered with a bit of cheesecloth, and it'll start to culture overnight. The difference between fermented food and cultured food is that cultured food usually means they use something in it to help culture it. In wild fermentation, they just use the stuff that's naturally on there that will start to ferment in time, like the salt and sauerkraut and the lactobacilli plantarum that's usually on the vegetable. So a vegetable is often covered with this probiotic called plantarum, lactobacillus plantarum. But this is cultured. This is going to be cultured. So this is just a quick lemon, cashew, almond cheese. But I'm going to put it on my counter overnight. I'm going to use some of it right now in my potato salad. Beautiful to just kind of top that up. Maybe put a couple pomegranates on there. Wow, here we go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. And thank you for remembering that your water bodies and living food is full of living water, structured and beautiful. And thank you remembering to be alive and be here at this time, place, and space. Precarious time to be on the planet, but I believe that if we stay in our rainbow light and we keep eating rainbow food, we'll always find our way out of anything that's feeling like it's insurmountable. So thank you. Blessings. Namaste.